Good morning, coaches. Before we kick off day 2 of the Tim Hortons Toronto Maple Leafs Coaches Open House, let's revisit our Kahoot trivia. The first one today is testing your Leafs knowledge, so get ready. Here's a reminder of how it works. You'll need 2 devices in order to play along. Please keep us on your main screen and use your second device to play. Just visit kahoot.it. We'll give you a couple minutes to log in. The PIN number for today's game will appear on your screen. Type it into your second device now. Be sure to use your first initial and last name so we are able to identify you as the winner and mail you your prize. Are you ready? Here we go.
Hi, welcome to Tim Hortons. What can I get you?
Oh my gosh. Can we actually order?
Yeah.
This is so cool. Can I get coffee?
You sure can. How is it working with amazing people every day?
It feels fantastic. The team inspires me every day. We all signed up to help people.
We're here to say thank you for being an essential worker.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Turn around.
Are you serious? Oh, I'm gonna cry.
Good morning and welcome to day 2 of the Toronto Maple Leafs Tim Hortons Coaches Open House. I'm your host Danielle Emanuel, and just like yesterday, we have some exciting sessions for today. Yesterday, we had conversations with Toronto Maple Leafs General Manager Kyle Dubas and Ron McLean. We got an inside scoop on what the Leafs development team has been up to, and let's not forget our courageous conversation session with Jeff Scott, Bridget Laquette, and Orlando Bowen. Don't forget to pay attention during the sessions and tune into Kahoot Trivia at the end of each for your chance to win a signed Leaf stick and a special prize from our partners at Tim Hortons. Now kicking it off with this session I had the pleasure of running, so let's get right to it. To start off our MVP guide, I'd like to introduce our first guest, Vicky Sanahara. Vicky was a member of Canada's national women's hockey program from 1989 through to 2008 and is the current head coach of the University of Toronto women's hockey team. She helped the team win the OUA Macaw Cup in the 2019-2020 season and was also named the U Sports Coach of the Year. As a player on Team Canada, she's won a total of 15 gold medals and 3 silver medals, including 2 Olympic golds and 1 silver. Also joining us today is GTHL's Brian Kyla Lasilla. He's the current manager of membership services and is heavily involved in coach and player development. Brian will be able to provide some helpful insight into how the GTHL is handling the current pandemic for their 50,000 athletes. So without further ado, we welcome in Brian and Vicky. How are you guys doing today? Brian, I'll start with you.
Doing very well, thanks, and thank you for having the GTHL and myself. And let me just say, it's an honor to be here with a hockey legend.
Vicky, we just gave you an introduction, and truly you're someone that doesn't need an introduction. But those that are tuning in at home, tell us a little bit about yourself and specifically your connection to the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Well, first of all, thank you. Honored to be here for sure. And thanks for that nice introduction. I know as you get older, those being called a legend, I think, oh my gosh, that's just means that I'm super old, but I really appreciate it. Thank you. You guys are very kind. But in the spring, I was approached by the Leafs to be one of their 2 delegates for the NHL Coaches Association Female Coach Development Program. And from there, I got access to the NHL's Global Coaches Clinic, which was held in line in June. Great opportunity. It was just an amazing opportunity to be a part of that and to learn the development that I learned, being a part of those seminars, and the information that was passed was great. And I'm able now to share that with other coaches that I coach with and athletes. So moving forward, I'm a part of the NHLCA mentorship program and activities, and I'm just really excited to learn more and to be a part of that.
Well, we're really excited to have you here and to be able to dive into that topic a little bit further as we go through this conversation. But Brian, I'll come back to you. And as we are dissecting player and coaching development, can you elaborate a little bit more on your role specifically with the GTHL?
Sure. So I've been with the GTHL for just over 10 years, probably closer to 12. But I think the main priority, I've always been a part of development, and I can say that the main priority of the league has always been to ensure that coaches are trained, whether that's a head coach, assistant coach, trainer, manager, that everybody has a starting point, and that they're trained to be on the bench. I'd say over the last 5 years, though, we've really expanded our focus and focused more on making sure we have more touch points with the coaches, and we're giving them more resources, or at least making more resources available to them. We've really focused on continuing education. There are requirements for coaches to maintain their certification, so that allows them to take courses, whether it's hockey specific or otherwise for professional development points. But we really push coaches getting involved in our instructional stream clinics.
That's great. You really summarize that. It sounds like you have your hands full, but truly impactful work that you are doing in the community, and the GTHL will be able to reap the rewards of that in the future. So as we're talking about, coaching, development, but as we know, this has been a challenging time for everybody, and specifically, Vicky, when you're coaching at the University of Toronto, how have you had to pivot and adapt throughout this pandemic?
Yes. Yeah, this pandemic has certainly been such a roller coaster ride with all the new the restrictions and things put in place and everything. It's always changing, and we also have restrictions put in place by the university itself. But we before the pandemic, we often spoke about adversity and handling things that come at you that you can't control, and this is certainly one of them. And so, we take what we're given, often different updates weekly, and we adjust, and that's what we relay to our student athletes as well. We were only allowed to go back on the ice for 6 days, and our arena got closed down by the university at before when the 28-day restriction was put in place in the city of Toronto. So we've had to find ways to change things up. We meet often. We meet either online or we're allowed to train outside, and so we've really changed that up. We've introduced new sports. I'm a big believer in cross training. And so, adding different sports, competitive sports, because obviously we have a group of girls that are quite competitive. And so, just that remaining connective and changing up the way we train. We've got a great strength and conditioning coach always changing up their workouts and making them competitive as well. So keeping them competitive, engaging, and also cross training, I think has been pretty helpful.
So perhaps it's all the way that you look at it, because in some aspect you could say that this is a setback, but saying that you can change up your routine and just the entire approach that you take towards your training regimen, maybe there is a benefit to this. And if you're able to spin that positive with your players, then they truly buy into it and they feel that too, right?
No, that's exactly it. I mean, we can't control what's going on. And my assistant coach once said, embrace the suck. And yes, this pandemic sucks, but we know that, and what positives can come out of it. And, we're learning, you can train, can make strength and conditioning gains, but, we can also learn a lot about each other. And as we're playing these different sports, we do really see a lot of all of our, our players, all of our, just the personalities come out, and we often tie in how it relates to hockey, how these different sports relate to hockey. They all do. And I think that the whole team building aspect as well. You get to laugh, you get to joke, you get to try something, you're not always being evaluated at it, and just having a lot of fun and, staying connected. And I think it's been so positive for our group.
I love that. And that's strong leadership, and that truly trickles down to your players, and everyone will feel connected throughout that. And Brian, you're dealing with a vast array of players, age groups, competitive levels. So when you found out that, you had to adjust and that the league was going to be on pause, what was the response that you gave to your players and the parents?
Yeah, so I mean, just like a lot of what Vicky was saying is learning how to adapt, I'd say, it has been the biggest thing for us. And we recognize that with us being basically on pause, we needed to make an effort to connect with our players more. And so some of the things that we've done really have revolved around social media largely as it relates to connecting with the players. So we've had Nutrition Tuesdays a series of that on our Instagram, which has been great, working with one of our partners to provide healthy meals recipes on healthy meals and healthy snacks. We've had we opened up a TikTok account, which has been, as you know, is largely popular with the players. So it's just another way to connect. We've had coaches Q&As, which have been coaches right from the league who have volunteered to go on Instagram and do some segments on some instructional stuff as well as take Q&A, and that's been largely popular. That's the kind of stuff we're doing. We're trying to connect with them. We're trying to make sure we're engaging with them, and we realize that there's a big task on the hands of the coaches, but they're doing a great job. So we're just trying to do our part to keep involved and keep them sort of in tune with what the league's doing.
I think you used a key word there, and it's engage. And as long as everyone feels engaged and that they're having fun, it can be refreshing. And I love that you guys have been finding ways to adapt, specifically TikTok. That is like the new wave for all the kids out there. I'm sure Vicky knows, having two young boys at home for sure. Maybe doing some TikTok dances in your living room. But certainly there has been an emphasis on mental health and well-being of athletes and players throughout this time. So as coaches and leaders in the community, what sort of resources or outlets can you provide to your players?
Well, we're very fortunate at the University of Toronto. We have so many resources, and now many online resources, and the university works quite closely with CAMH to provide support. As you know, this is a difficult time, and even probably, there's extended stress put on with being a student at this time as well, online classes and things like that. So, we're very fortunate to have that support. But I think that, on a personal level, we've always, as a coach, we've always had an open door policy, and it's always been the people first. And so, during these times, as much as we can't have the face-to-face meetings in our office, in our coaches' offices, but we reach out a lot online as a team, we have individual meetings, and just to really just to chat and to make sure that we don't lose anybody. We also work very closely with our leadership group, with our team, and they reach out as well to especially our first years coming in. Imagine your first year of university having to enter during a pandemic. So just providing support, as much as we all are in this, and it's a first time. There's not a script, there's not a lesson plan for this. Just trying to attack this together, and just remain connected, I think is really important, and show the personal side. I mean, this has been, it's coaches as well. We're stressed out about this and trying to find our way, and just to show that we're human as well to our student athletes, and that we're navigating through this, and we're here to support them, and we support each other as well.
I think it's important to share that aspect of the journey too. And you kind of alluded to it, Vicky, but having an open door policy. But as a coach, have you had to change maybe your style in coaching, or maybe how you've had to approach this season? Because I know with Sheldon Keefe, when the Leafs were preparing for their return to play, he said he had never watched so much video in his life. And he said, I was going to use this time to my advantage to really hone in on my own skills. Because the reality is, when you're in the grind of the season, there's so many aspects of your own craft that tend to get neglected just because you don't have the time or the schedule to be able to keep up with it. So is there anything that you've been able to focus on throughout this time?
Well, I think that for sure, the video, and having the access to these seminars, and as I said about the NHL, the coaches clinics, all of these are accessible online and recorded, and so just being able to see all these presentations, and everybody's busy, to be able to see them on your own time, I think has helped me as a coach for sure learn more about the game, learn more about what other coaches are doing, and again, being a part of the mentorship program, being able to reach out and actually speak to other female coaches. So it's been, it's been actually really positive in that regard, and doing things that you probably wouldn't have had time for had the season just progressed in a normal way. And so again, a lot of positives coming out of this, and then being able to share that and with our team and with my other coaches. It's just I think it's been a positive, and it's what you're going to sit back and feel bad about this, or are you going to be proactive and be better?
That's great, and a good piece of advice. And Brian, we know that hope is on the horizon, and when the GTHL return to play resumes, what are some things that coaches should keep in mind when it comes to participating in practices in a modified world? There's going to be limitations potentially on the amount of players that could be on the ice, health and safety restrictions in place. So what do you think should be top of mind for coaches?
Well, obviously, it's going to be player safety in all regards. But with that said, I thought that preparation would be certainly the best approach to player safety, and that's going to mean making sure that you know what the public health guidelines are, making sure you know what the GTHL guidelines will be at that time when we do open back up. And those will be lockstep with public health guidelines. We've had consultation with sick kids to develop our game plan as well as public health officials. So we're going to make it as easy as possible for the coaches to make sure that they're doing the right thing and the safe thing, as well as the facilities. They're going to be also in lockstep with public health guidelines. And with that said, I think it's going to be preparation. So maybe it's going to be relying on a team safety rep, which we in the league, when we do open up, we will require somebody to be that. And you're communicating to your players and the parents what the expectations will be. So just getting ahead of things. I think if you can get ahead of things in terms of your preparation, yes, it won't look immediately like a normal practices, normal hockey. But there's a great opportunity here to still get back into the game as long as coaches know what the expectation is. And I could say we've also done some app development with our app developer who's created something, a health screening questionnaire. And again, that will allow the teams to screen the players before they come in and make sure that everybody's healthy and that the people who are participating are healthy. So again, it's just going to be preparation, and you're going to need to rely on your coaching staff to help you with that, because it can't fall on one player, one coach.
And just to build on that, some of these players, as Vicky had mentioned, they're adapting, perhaps they're playing different sports or training in new ways, but the reality is they're not fully exerting themselves in the ways that they were used to. So they're going from 0 to 100 when they return to play. So for a coach that is having to tailor their practice to this new world or gameplay, how can we ensure that athletes are able to come back and resume play without potential risk of injury?
I think that with that's a part of we see this often in training camp after this a summer break. You're skating 5 days a week, and you often see the hip flexor, groin pulls, and things like that. So it's that, and managing that when we do come back, that it's a progression. And I think that that's something that we do a pretty good job with at the beginning of the season. And so it's something similar to that. And it's just really managing. And, it's hard because as soon as you get them back on the ice, everybody wants to go a million miles an hour. And, but just even the education on that, and just, proper warm-ups and cool downs and things like that can help. But you have to fit that into your practices as well. Make sure if they're not allowed to warm up in the arenas, because oftentimes we're only allowed to go in a few minutes before, put your skates on and get on the ice. So I think that has to be a part of practices, and just, kind of, I don't want to say easing, but easing your athletes back into game shape. And it doesn't happen overnight. So that has to be, relayed by coaches and I think strength and conditioning coaches and therapists as well. Just everybody on the same page that this is something that we have to be prepared for.
So true. Players are going to be so eager, so excited. So it's going to be challenging to try to hold them back. But Brian, did you have a final thought on that?
No, I totally agree with Vicky, and the word progression is key. It's really in everything that we're doing. It's progression is always going to be the key, and I think now with the situation that we've encountered, we can ask a lot of the players to do stuff before they get to the rink, which will allow them to just once they get to the rink, be prepared to work on the skills on the ice. And I do think right now is a great opportunity for players to work on the finite skills, and then as we expand and allow more players to get on the ice, we use those skills in the team context. But now is a great opportunity for sure for players to learn the finite skills that sometimes you don't get the opportunity to teach in a busy season.
Well, this has been so insightful. Thank you both for your time. I wish that we could hang on to you for a little bit longer, but surely this has been informative for myself and everybody at home. And it's great to know just that we're all in this together and how you've all been navigating this challenging time, because certainly it has been that, but we are going to come out stronger on the other side of that. And who knows what kind of skills players are going to be able to develop coming out of it, and same with coaches. So thank you once again to both of you.
Thank
you very much.
Thanks for
Pleasure.
All right, everyone, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back on the other side with the second half of our session, so don't go anywhere.
Welcome to Tim Hortons. How you doing?
What?
That's crazy.
Can I take your order?
Small coffee, 2 please.
How does it feel to know you're such an essential service right now?
We're very proud to know that we're keeping businesses open, which helps the greater good.
Well, it's been a challenge, but we're getting through it.
Well, we wanted to pop in today and show you a little bit of appreciation.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Morning. Morning. Close your eyes. Feeling better now?
Much better. Thank you.
We're back with the second half of our session. Joining us is the Director of Hockey Development from Hockey Canada. Please welcome Corey McNabb. Corey, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Danielle, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be part of this.
I think it would be easy to say, with leagues being on pause right now, that you could have some downtime, potentially not be as busy as usual, but you've been busier than ever. So loop us in. What have you been up to?
Yeah, for sure. There's no doubt it's a period in time that no one's really gone through before. So without a doubt, it's been busy. Probably the biggest difference is, instead of doing a lot of coaching clinics or ice sessions or player skills sessions in person, we've been doing a lot via various video platforms and basically trying to make the best of a situation to keep coaches engaged, to keep kids engaged, and make sure that everyone can still enjoy hockey, even though it's not the format that they're traditionally used to.
You are such a pro, because you led me into the perfect segue. We are going to be talking about virtual practice segments and what is the biggest difference. Obviously, being in person is the most ideal scenario, but when it comes to virtual sessions, what is potentially a pro of that environment?
Yeah, I think, from a Hockey Canada standpoint, we've been doing, video coaching sessions or video training sessions with players for a while, but due to the COVID-19 situation, we've been forced into doing it, a lot more frequently, like everyone else. And I think the big thing is it does allow you the access to do things from the comfort of your own home. For parents and players, you don't necessarily have to travel to a rink for an ice session. You don't have to travel to a gym for an off-ice session. So there's definitely some efficiencies. The other thing to look at it too is that you can actually get in touch with your players more often. Typically in a hockey season, you have a schedule, that gives you dates and times. But I think with this is you can be a little bit more flexible. You can do them evenings, you can do them on weekends. So I think there's some bonuses or benefits to doing it this way. And I think at the end of the day, by now, everyone's becoming a lot more comfortable with running a virtual practice or just information sessions even, and still being able to get the information across. And I think you can do it at more frequency as well.
So let's dive a little bit deeper into this. For coaches that are curious about more information when it comes to virtual training sessions, what are some platforms that you would recommend?
There's a lot of good platforms out there, and I think the Zoom is a popular one that a lot of people are doing. But there's Adobe Connect, there's Microsoft Teams, there's Skype. People are using iPhones and iMessage and things like that. So anything that you have available to you that you don't necessarily have to go out and spend a lot of money on something. There's a lot of really good public platforms out there that people can use. That a lot of times they already come on your phone or your computer. So it's a great way to do it. They all have great features and functions where you can have the chat component in there where the coaches can type in questions and players can answer, where you can do breakout rooms and things like that. So I would say anything that's available to you. You don't necessarily have to go out and spend money or try and invest in all kinds of technology to still use these different platforms and have success with your team.
That's great that there are so many options available. And just like you said, you don't have to go out there, spend a lot of money, and you can just use your phone. And we were even talking to Brian from the GTHL, and he said that they've had to pivot and find ways to engage with their players. And maybe that comes through TikTok or finding unique ways that really retain the attention of these young athletes. So, when it comes to your experience, what are some tips or tricks that you could give coaches in order to maintain that level of engagement?
I think that's a great point, and the reality of it is, just like in an in-person practice when you're at the rink, it's upon the coach to make sure that the practice is engaging, that the coach isn't spending all their time talking, and the players aren't doing anything or aren't being active. So I think it's the same principles apply to a virtual call or a virtual practice. And a lot of the things that we do is, if we're using a platform where you have the chat option or you can put in polls, we'll type in some questions ahead of time. So as a coach, I'll ask my players different questions, and the question will pop up on the screen, and they'll have to reply. We use various breakout rooms where I might give them a topic of something that I want, 3 or 4 different groups of kids to look at and to discuss, and then we throw them into the breakout rooms, and they can have some interactivity by conversing with each other on the topic. And you can put some other coaches in each of the rooms too to help monitor and make sure that the conversation keeps going. But I think it's the exact same principles. You want to make sure that whatever you're talking about is engaging. You don't want to be the coach who's sitting there on the camera and talking for half an hour straight while the kids you're hoping they're paying attention. So anything you can do interactive, show them video clips and ask them to comment on it. Ask them for ideas on, hey, what would you guys like to see this drill in practice? Is there something we can add on to it? You can show them video clips of players in practice or game clips even, and have players comment and say, I really like what this player did here, or coaches can ask if there's something that they didn't do correctly, would you point it out? So it's a great way for players to stay engaged. And especially with older players watching game clips like we see here, it's a good opportunity for them to sort of think about what they should be looking for in those same type situations when they're on the ice. And I think anything you can do to keep them engaged and keep them involved in the conversation by asking questions or asking for their input is something that's going to be a benefit.
When it comes to coaches and just their preparation for virtual training sessions, how would you advise one to plan for a virtual training session and just potentially things that they should consider when it comes to the structure of it?
That's a great question, and I think it almost ties into just like you would be planning for an on-ice practice. You need to plan for your virtual practice or your video session to make sure that you're organized. So number one, make sure that you have your material ready that you want to be able to present. So for example, if you have practice plans that you want to show the players, make sure that they're ready and they're accessible. If you have video clips, make sure that they're all lined up. And you want to be able to go through it just like you would in a practice. It's something that the kids are familiar with. You don't want to have to be fooling around with trying to find this clip, and you have long delays or pauses in between what you're trying to do. And ultimately, the planning comes down to how prepared you are as a coach, just like it would in a real life situation. So, it's important to not just have a video call and try and just sort of wing it. You want to make sure that, like a graphic here where we're showing, here's the things that we're going to look at. We're going to look at some warm-up drills, some stationary small area puck skills, some things that we're going to be doing in some lanes. talk about the different things that you're going to be highlighting in the call, whether it's net drives or point shots or tips and deflections. It gives the kids a little bit of an opportunity to see what's coming up, and obviously when they know what's coming up, they have a chance to look forward to it. If you're using different components like PowerPoints or things like that, try and limit the text that's on there. You don't want to be trying to speak to it and then have kids read line by line. So you want to show sort of an overview, keep it as interactive as possible. If you can have the opportunity to add a lot of video, kids love that type of stuff. It keeps them more engaged versus just reading or looking at text. So generally, most people now have familiarity with virtual calls and things like that, whether it's through their personal life or their work or their business, and they understand what works well in those environments. And I think you want to try and look at the same principles from a virtual practice with kids as well.
You've given us already so many great examples, but let's just say I'm a coach that is relatively new or inexperienced, and I'm trying to find concrete examples of drills that I could be using in my virtual training sessions. Are there any resources that are available to me?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think one of the other advantages of doing virtual sessions versus live practices is you have the opportunity to invite different experts or subject matter experts onto your calls. And, obviously that's more difficult when you're in a practice situation because you might not be able to have, a skills coach or a skating coach or a goalie coach actually attend. But because of the flexibility that you have with virtual calls or virtual practices, it's a lot easier sometimes if maybe you're not as knowledgeable in an area like goaltending, you could actually have a goaltending coach come on and talk to the players or talk to the goalies about what you're trying to do. One of the resources that we use a lot is our Hockey Canada Network app. And with all the drills, and there's preset practice plans made, that I use it a lot with players that I'm working with, where I can display what's on my phone right onto the screen. And so we can walk through, here's a practice that we're gonna look at, or here's some skill concepts that we're trying to get across. And because I can plan and make my practice plan on my phone through the app, and I display it on my screen, the kids have an opportunity to look at it. So again, it comes down to planning and making sure that you're clear on what you want to get across, but also doing it in a way that the kids are going to be able to understand it and follow along.
Well, Corey, this has been so helpful, very informative. I certainly learned a lot. So thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Danielle. Appreciate the opportunity, and hope everyone stays safe and get through the hockey season. Understanding that it looks a little bit different than what it normally does, but if everyone does their best to try and make the best of the situation, I think we're still going to come out on the back end with hockey that can be beneficial for kids and coaches and everybody involved.
Certainly, and lots of techniques that we can apply to virtual practices going forward. So we're looking forward to seeing what everybody comes up with. Thanks again, Corey, and we'll see you soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
It's amazing that there are so many programs and resources available to all of you. If you're wondering where you can access all these amazing tools, check out your coach's manual for more information. Another big thank you to our guests, Vicki, Brian, and Corey for joining us today. Don't forget to stay tuned for trivia and a chance to win a team-signed Leaf stick. We'll meet you right back here at 12:30 for our Chalk Talk with Toronto Maple Leafs head coach Sheldon Keefe. We'll see you then. Let's revisit our Kahoot trivia. Here's a reminder of how it works. You'll need 2 devices in order to play along. Please keep us on your main screen and use your second device to play. Just visit kahoot.it. We'll give you a couple minutes to log in. The PIN number for today's game will appear on your screen. Type it into your second device now. Be sure to use your first initial and last name so we are able to identify you as the winner and mail you your prize. Are you ready? Here we go. Our partners at Tim Hortons wanted us to share a special message on their behalf. At Tim Hortons, you're always welcome. We're happy to serve you each day, and even happier when we can work together to help make a difference in our community. We're always proud to play any role we can in contributing to the health and happiness of our neighbors, which is why we are a proud partner of Toronto Maple Leafs Coaches Open House.
I'm Greg Schell, Hockey School Director for the Toronto Maple Hockey School in the summer. Now I come to you from my kitchen area and my dining room where we're going to work on some upper body exercises. Now this is going to help you continue to stay active at home and sharpen up your hockey skills so as soon as you hit that ice, you're ready to go. So goalies, I've heard from you through your private messages. I've got a drill for you today. So we're going to work on one exercise and two drills when we come to you right in your living space. I want you to go track down a pair of shoes with a bit of a grip to it for this next exercise called Mags. Get ready for it. So you've tracked down your shoes, you're in your space, just like me. Well done, and thank you for that. Now remember, the key teaching points to this exercise for you at home is to make sure that you're completely flat along the surface of the ground, in control of your body as you pull up, as you apply pressure to your shoes so that you can slide your body up. And then continue to apply pressure so that you can push your body down. And so your elbows should be out and allow that pull and push motion to go smoothly across the floor. I'm gonna do it. Let's see how you make out. Let's go. So now that you've tracked down your grippy shoes, I want you to lie flat along the surface of your floor and pull yourself up and down. Pull yourself up and down while applying pressure to the heels of the shoe. Now, should your shoes slide, maybe use hairspray or wet them a little bit so that they grip. So do this as a continuous motion, or you can do this in 4 sets of 10 reps. So there is your lat pull up and downs. And so how it transfers over into the game of hockey is it allows you to strengthen your upper body strength for body contact, body checking, and shooting. And for the goalies, it's that upper body strength that requires you to make sure that you have perfect control over your blocker, catcher, and your stick. So we hope.
Nice work on the mags drill. Well done. So that exercise will transfer over into this next drill, which is pretty cool. So required equipment. And so I need you to go track down some open space with a wall that you can throw a bounceable ball off and receive. I need you to track down a stick. I'm going to use a mini stick because my space is small. You're going to need something like a catcher, whether it's a baseball glove or an actual catcher, or you could use a winter glove. Now, a blocker could be a hockey blocker or a winter glove or even a hockey glove or anything that can basically redirect the ball. So listen, go track down those items and see me right back here. Let's go. Come on, hurry up. Now, of all the items you track down, here's what I'm going to use. This mini stick, because I have small space, a winter glove, I'm going to use a soft bounceable item, and I'm going to choose a wall that has a good bounce, like this cabinet right here. Now, the reason why I don't have a catcher is because I'm by myself, so I need to be able to throw the ball. Your words are focus, set, save, control. So as I throw that ball off the wall, I want to focus, I want to set, and I want to save, and I want to control it as best as I possibly can. All right, now, if you're looking to advance this a little, yeah, Maddie, that boy. So now Maddie's here. I'm going to pass him the ball. He's in behind me. I don't know when he's going to throw it, so I've got to basically read and react. So this is where focus, set, save, control comes in. Okay, so now, you go when you're ready, Maddie. Oh yeah, nice. Here we go. Come on, more. Nice. Oh, he got one by me. Now, if you want to dial it up just a little bit more, you can change where the thrower is so they can quietly go to the left or to the right behind you. So that's the wall drill. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's get ready for our next drill. Now, this next drill is called wrong-handed hockey. So we're going to challenge you and stimulate your mind to do things differently. You're programmed to stick handle properly, whether you're a left-handed or a right-handed shot. And so now what we're going to ask you to do is handle the ball around the surface of the floor through a design course on your wrong hand. It's awesome. So you're going to need to track down yourself a hockey stick or something that reflects a hockey stick, a ball-like item, and set yourself up with a course with items that you can stick handle around within your living space. Go track them down. I'm going to use this lacrosse ball and this hockey stick. What are you going to use? Come on, let's go. Now, I've designed my course. It's a bit of a race course. I love it. It's awesome. It demands speed, but I do need to focus on the details and master the task that I'm doing here because I've been asked to do something that I very rarely do. And so handling a ball on the wrong hand is something that is not normal for you or I, as you know. And so what I want you to do is take your time, athletic ready position, focus on the details and master the task that you're about to complete. And so make sure that that top hand closest to your hip stays close to it and that you don't raise your stick high up into the air. I also want you to make sure that you have soft hands as you go through this. Now, I've designed my course as a time trial course. How fast can I go up through it and back down? Now, you can do this on time. You can do this on loss of possession. How many times do you go up and down in one shot, in one heat? How many times do you lose possession of the ball? If you have family members in your house, well, then challenge them by time and possession events. And so here, it looks like this. So I'm used to handling a ball or a puck on my left side of my body, which is left-handed shot. Now I'm going to switch and go to the right side. So again, soft hands, control the ball, focus on the details, master the task, and go through your course. Now, how well will you do? And so you will make mistakes, I promise. Recover and continue. Now, those sitting on the outside are going to laugh as they see you try and do this because it is quite unique. But have some fun with it, and let's see how well you do. Let me know. And that's a wrap. We did it. Another camp at home experience brought to you by the Toronto Maple Leafs. So we hope you enjoyed it. Now, we've come up with 32 videos between the Leafs, Raptors, TFC, and Argos to allow you and your family to continue to stay active and focus on some hockey skills at the same time. So athleticism is key. Well-rounded athletes is more important. So I hope that you enjoy all of the videos that are posted on our YouTube page at MLSC Sport Development. And so now we're going to take a little bit of a break. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to have the opportunity to revisit all of our hockey development programming and take best practices from around the world and apply them to our programs so that when you show up at Scotiabank Arena or at a community event with us, we're prepared for you and giving you nothing but a Stanley Cup performance with respects to helping to shape the future of your hockey. So now, speaking of shaping the future, continue to practice recommended health guidelines by your public health officials, and should you have that opportunity to go outside, make sure you keep that one stick length difference between you and somebody else to get some fresh air. So on behalf of the Toronto Maple Leafs, enjoy all these videos, enjoy your family, enjoy this time, make the best of it, and try and create goals where you're setting yourself up to receive championship opportunities in all your tasks. So go win yourself a Stanley Cup or a Larry O'Brien in a task that you're doing today. I'm Greg Schell. This is your Camp at Home experience. Enjoy all of it.
Greg Shell here, hockey school director for the Toronto Maple Leafs Hockey School. I come to you from the space between my kitchen and my dining room. And so we're going to have some ways for you to stay active and continue to work on your hockey skills all at the same time. Listen, you're going to need very little household equipment and maybe a few little sport-related items to help you get through this camp-at-home exercise today. Let's get ready. This exercise here is called deck of cards. You're going to need to track down a deck of cards, split them in half, grab a partner, grab something to write with, and let's pull up some examples of exercises that we can do. Now, we're going to go through our hockey school manual and use exercises that lead into and complement our on-ice programming. And so, let's see here, off-ice programming, and I'm going to do push-ups.
How about this one?
Yeah.
Squats.
Yeah, perfect. You do squats, I'll do push-ups. And so what I want you to do is write down on maybe 4 or 5 cards push-ups. Write down on 4 or 5 cards squats. And then pull up some other exercises that you can write down on these cards as well. Shuffle them and get ready to pull a card and get ready for that exercise. Now, if I pull, say, for example, a queen of clubs, you're going to have to do 10 push-ups. So what card will you pull? Let's grab your stuff and get ready to go. Deck of card workout time. And so you have your deck of cards, you're going to place them on the floor just like this and have some fun with this with our indoor space, which is where we're going to be working here, is paper, rock, scissors. Let's go. Yes, rock beats scissors. I get to pull the card. Christopher's exercise is, oh wow, face cards are 10. So Chris has 10 push-ups. Here we go. Let's see it, Chris. 10 push-ups. Try and keep a nice straight back while you're doing this. So let's go. 10. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Hang on for a second. Do go modify. Now, regular push-ups, might be a little easy for some people. If it's not, a way of sort of dialing back a little bit is going to the modify where your knees are on the floor and your ankles are crossed and you're going down using all your upper body here. So there's 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10. Nice. Okay, let's go. You pull my card. Here we go. Oh, 7 squats. Okay, so squats. What I want you to do is you're going to be in your athletic ready position, so your knees are in line with your shoulders, and so it's a deep knee bend. Try and make sure that pretend you're sitting on a chair, and then come right up. And so your hands are out in front of you, just for balance and center of gravity here. And so 7, so that's 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. Now, if you're looking for something a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more advanced, you can say hold your partner. So if Christopher's here, I can hold him and I can do a single leg squat, all right, for single leg strength with my foot in front of me, or I can just bend my knee in a 90 and go into a single leg squat. Now, if you don't have a partner, you can always use the edge of a desk, a chair, or a countertop. All right, let's get ready for our next drill. This drill here is called hit or miss. It's fantastic. And so this is kind of a fun exercise just to work on all skills and creativity within you as an athlete at your camp at home experience. So Chris and I have tracked down some pretty cool items, and it's just a mix of everything. And we want you to do the same thing. It's kind of like a junkyard right now, to be honest with you. You're going to need an item that you can shoot, all right, or pass a ball-like item. And so we have our items. Go track down some stuff like this and get ready to play hit or miss. Hit or miss. Lots of fun. And you can see how we've got our setup here, and I like what you guys have done as well at home. And so we've got our ball-like items. You can track down as many as you want so that you don't have to run and get your ball back and forth, but you can always switch sides as you try and shoot through the junkyard. Okay, so now I've got a kitchen utensil, Chris has got a mini stick, and we're gonna basically, he calls out a hit or he calls out a miss for me. So if it's a hit, I have to hit one of the targets, super easy. If it's a miss, because we have more items, quite difficult. So this is the level of difficulty here. All right, so Chris, you go first. Miss. So shoot through without touching anything. Yes, nice work. Okay, so now my turn. Oh, and I have a larger size tennis ball to shoot through here and a soup spoon. Okay, here we go. Call out hit or miss. Miss. Oh, man. Now, we can use bank shots here, and so this is being creative here. I'm going to try and get it past that oversized yellow ball. Oh, I hit it. So listen, have some fun with this. Continue to do this and maybe award yourself, points for every time you successfully accomplish what you're trying to ask each other to do. Hit or miss, pretty cool. Have some fun with this. Drill number 2, asteroids. It's awesome. So what I need you to do is track down some stick-like items that are going to allow you to shoot ball-like items across the smooth surface of the floor. And I also need you to track down one larger ball-like item that you're going to focus at and shoot balls at. It's going to be amazing. And so go find some open space within your house. I'm going to do the exact same thing, and I'll see you right back here. Let's go find some space. All right, see you in a couple of seconds. Here we go. Asteroids, the best game for indoor space, especially when you're at the hockey school for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So now what's going to happen is you need to be on your knees and kind of like in your athletic ready position from your hips up. And you want to focus on shooting the ball at a smooth, sort of well-calculated path. And so this ball here that you see on the floor is going to move around. So this is where I got to focus, set, and then shoot. Now, with a partner, Christopher and I, if I miss, he receives it. So there's a bit of shooting, there's a passing exercise in this, and this is going to be a lot of fun. So in your athletic ready position, upper body up, when you say ready, set, go, I'm going to try and knock this ball over past Christopher. He's going to try and do the exact same thing and knock it past me. Okay, let's give it a shot. Here we go, and we're just going to keep on going here. Here we go, ready, set, go. Yes, yes. Oh, get the ball, get a ball. Oh, this is a heavy ball. Oh, nice work. And so there's asteroids. It's awesome. So play this and time yourself and see how many shots it takes. But when you go partner to partner, it's pretty cool stuff. So enjoy asteroids. That was fantastic. And so, Chris, thanks for playing with me today.
Yeah, that was
awesome.
great. We really hope you enjoyed your camp at home experience.
Well, and so, listen, have some fun with all of this. And so we try to stimulate your minds to do things differently in these fun, creative drills and that one exercise that we provided for you. Continue to follow all levels of government recommendations with respect to the safety and the distance, physical distance. Remember that, 1 stick length away. So please, continue to play safe, have fun, enjoy your indoor experience, and we'll catch up with you soon. Thanks a lot and enjoy your day.
Our partners at Tim Hortons wanted us to share a special message on their behalf. At Tim Hortons, you're always welcome. We're happy to serve you each day, and even happier when we can work together to help make a difference in our community. We're always proud to play any role we can in contributing to the health and happiness of our neighbors, which is why we are a proud partner of Toronto Maple Leafs Coaches Open House. Welcome to our final session of the 2020 Tim Hortons Toronto Maple Leafs Coaches Open House. Don't forget to pay attention and answer the last of the Kahoot trivia questions at the end of this session for your chance to win. I'll be your host again for this session, so let's get started with what this Chalk Talk is all about. Our special guest for today has been coaching since 2006, is a former player, and our current Toronto Maple Leafs head coach, Mr. Sheldon Keefe. For our final session, we saved the best for last. We're welcoming in the head coach of your Toronto Maple Leafs, Sheldon Keefe. Sheldon, it is so great to see you. You know, this would be a time of year where you would be so busy. You're down at Scotiabank Arena preparing for an upcoming game. So how have you been first and foremost, and what have you been up to?
I've been good, thank you. And yeah, it is a strange time of year, of course, given that you are used to being so busy this time of year and not taking advantage of it, spending lots of time with my wife and kids, and especially in the evenings here, been able to, be able to attend a lot more of their own hockey that normally I would miss this time of year. And of course, that in itself is a little bit strange given, the COVID times and the restrictions and protocols that are in place, but I have been able to watch and even rent some ice and get them out, get on the ice with them myself. So that's been great. And then otherwise, I've been getting into the office, which has been really good, in the facility at the Fort Performance Center, and have a little bit of normalcy in terms of a routine to get in and get some work done in there, and work towards getting prepared for training camp.
Well, it sounds as though you've been full steam ahead and preparing for an upcoming season where we don't officially know the start date. So let's go back to when the season went on pause in March. You didn't know when you were going to be heading into the bubble, but you knew that the games were going to be taking place here in Toronto. So there was a sense of familiarity and normalcy, but I'm sure everyone wants to know, what was life like in the bubble? Did you have expectations going into it, or did you just keep an open mind?
Yeah, I think we all had a real open mind to it. We recognized the situation, that it wasn't ideal, but we were just grateful for an opportunity to get out and compete again and entertain the fans. So whatever we had to do to make that happen, I think everybody in the game was willing to do that. Being in Toronto, of course, had its advantages, and we didn't have to travel or anything like that. It was a lot easier for us to get there. I think though, with that said, I think it also came with a little bit of a wrinkle and a curveball that you wouldn't really expect, which is that all of a sudden you're kind of like a guest in your own house kind of thing, both at the arenas and the facilities, and even in around the city, and driving around the city on a bus and moving around, as opposed to how you're used to doing it. So that was different. But just the way that the NHL put on the event, first of all, to take care of the players and staff and everybody associated with it, and then just also a chance just to get some recognition to the people of Toronto. I mean, because there's so many things that went into putting on that bubble that you wouldn't really recognize or you wouldn't realize. Just the amount of security, hotel staff, arena staff, people that are doing all the work behind the scenes to pull this thing off, and those were people from Toronto. Those are our people. So very, very grateful for them, for the work that they did to allow us a chance to compete. And of course, we were not happy with the results that we got, but they put on a great show and allowed the NHL to do its thing.
It is pretty incredible, the fact that the NHL was the first major sports league to be able to award a championship amidst the pandemic. So round of applause for everyone that was involved in getting that off the ground and completed. But we have thousands of coaches on the line here from different age groups and skill levels. But I want to talk a little bit about your coaching path. So you began coaching in 2006, and transitioning from a player to coach, did you always know that you wanted to take on a role like coaching, or was it something that you just fell into?
Yeah, I would say it's something I more or less fell into. I knew I loved the game, had a lot of passion for the game. I don't know that I know a whole lot else outside of the game. It's been my life. And you want to stay associated with it. Now my playing career ended a lot sooner than I thought it would. So you're not thinking too far down the road when you're in it and you're 24, 25-year-old professional player. But with some injuries and with my career going somewhat backwards in terms of starting in the NHL at a young age and playing at 20 to then 22, 23, 24, suddenly, you're not in the NHL and you're in the American League and you're starting to deal with all sorts of major injuries and such. And then you start to think about things. But the big thing for me was I was fortunate enough to invest in a junior hockey team with the Pembroke Lumber Kings. And that gave me an opportunity to be involved in the development and in the coaching and looking at the game from a different vantage point that I was really drawn to very quickly. And with my career going the way that it was and the injuries being what they were, it was a transition that I made quite quickly and quite easily, which told me that I really did have a passion for it.
Recognizing that you had a passion for it early on, would you say that you developed a coaching style at that point, or did it take years for it to really take form?
Yeah, it really did take a long time. We were fortunate to have a great deal of success in Pembroke, and we won the league championship in my first 5 years, all 5 years that I was there. And we had great teams, great players, great support in the community that really helped us have the foundation for success there. We won the national championship in the fifth year in 2011. And that was a big moment for me, and the biggest thing was probably at that point really recognizing that maybe that I might be able to do something beyond the junior A level and start to explore what else might be out there. But in doing so, I also realized quickly that I had a lot to learn, and I was really relying upon what I had experienced as a player, and I was fortunate to have a lot of great experiences and play for a lot of good coaches, certainly at the NHL and American League level, and was able to take those lessons and kind of use them. I was really drawn towards video and the use of video to analyze players and teams. That was something I was really attached to quite quickly. But in terms of the tactics and philosophy and style of play and those types of things, I really didn't have a lot. I was just, for lack of a better term, just kind of winging it and making it up as we went along in terms of what I had experienced as a player and how I thought you should coach. But I think discipline and camaraderie and pushing players and challenging players to be their best was something that came naturally to me in that sense, but I really had to work over the years to develop a proper philosophy and a style of play and educate myself with, where the game was at in 2010 versus where it was when I was playing in 2000 or 95 or whatever it might have been. I had to really get myself up to speed, and my exposure to Hockey Canada with the World Junior A Challenge initially and the seminars and the resources that they exposed me to really showed me how much I had to learn, that I had to get to work and start to study the game.
You had referenced just the fact that you've come in contact with so many great coaches and mentors throughout your years as a player and even transitioning into a coach. But is there one in particular that you may have leaned on for advice or guidance, or just something that they had said to you that really stood out to you that you carried with you?
Well, there was a couple that really stand out to me that had a big influence. The coach that I played for the most in my time in professional hockey and certainly in the NHL was John Tortorella in Tampa Bay, and was there through the years when Tampa went from being a team that was at the bottom of the league to then making incremental gains from one year to the next, and ultimately winning the Stanley Cup in 2004, to which I wasn't a part of. By that point, the team had gotten too good for me to be around. But I was there through the process, the growing pains, and towards taking that team and building its habits and building its competitiveness and growing its young star players. So that really stuck with me, and just the way that he pushed and challenged individuals, the demands that he put on the players in training camp in particular. All those things really stuck with me that I took forth, both in Pembroke and then in Sault Ste. Marie, and learned a lot through that.
I love that your career kind of came full circle, being able to coach against John Tortorella in the play-in round. Was that a surreal moment for you? I know that in the heat of battle, you don't want to acknowledge it or pay too much attention to it, but now in reflection, can you really appreciate it?
Yeah, for sure. And even going into it, it was, you look at your own personal story and how it all does come full circle, as you say, and to have a chance to compete against Torts and Columbus, but it really wasn't even just Torts. It's when you look further down the line, Brad Shaw is another one of the assistant coaches in Columbus. I played for Brad. He was the head coach of the Detroit Vipers in the International Hockey League, the IHL, when I first came into pro hockey, and then I was the assistant coach in Springfield when I was there. So I played for him as well. And then Brad Larson's one of the assistant coaches. I played with him in the American League. And then Paul McLean is the other one that was on the bench, who, of course, I knew very well through my time having his son, AJ McLean, along my side with the Marlies and Sault Ste. Marie. And so the entire staff I had known and had personal experiences with. So, yeah, it was that was an interesting and somewhat neat piece of the puzzle in terms of my story. And I was excited about the chance to compete with and against them. And, again, we're not happy with the results and how that all played out, but it was kind of neat to have it play out that way.
Certainly, and a credit to all of your hard work. And great to know that Paul McLean will be joining the Leafs coaching staff this upcoming season too. But we have coaches that, want to get the best out of their players, recognizing that they are to have fun, but also stay motivated. So when it comes to motivation, do you have a tactic or technique that has really served you well when it comes to keeping players really engaged?
Well, I think first of all, motivation's a funny thing, and motivation is something that really kind of comes and goes, and it wavers, and we try to really tap into what inspires the players. What's their inspiration? What is their passion? Why is it that they play? Why is it that they've committed their life essentially to being elite hockey players? There's a lot of really, really gifted people that are playing in the NHL, of course, but these guys have put in a great deal of work to be able to be where they're at. And in order to do that, you're not doing it on the back of motivation. You're truly inspired by something. And, it's important as a coach to learn what that is and tap into that. In terms of the motivation pieces, I think, that has a role to play, to be played inside of the team concepts and the day-to-day and the ebbs and flows of the schedule and all those kind of things. And you're always trying to look for a little bit of a connection, something that might be of extra importance to the team, whether it's what the game has to do, how it relates to the standings, or anything that might have occurred in previous games against that particular team, or how the opponent is playing, how we're playing, and ability to respond or to continue to build upon what we're doing. Just constantly looking for ways to connect the day to some story or some storyline that might work for some of the players, and knowing that some of them it's not going to register, and that's not really how they work and how they operate. That's why it's ultimately most important to really tap into what inspires the players and why it is that they play the game. And that's something that's overriding, and it should be there all the time.
Interesting. I love that perspective. So it has to come from within the player, although you can help to facilitate that motivation and drive itself. But being a coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, naturally, you are in the center of the hockey universe, one of the largest fan bases in the world. And knowing that, there is pressure that's associated with that. You want to perform well when you step out onto the ice, in the standings, and ultimately win championships. So how do you keep that in the back of your mind, wanting to play a brand of a hockey that is exciting and thrilling for fans while also being able to produce wins?
Yeah, well, first of all, pressure is truly a privilege, and it's something you hear a lot. When there's pressure, that means there's great opportunity, and you're a part of something that people care about, but also they realize that you have good pieces and you have great potential, and that's exciting for me as a coach, and I know it is for our players as well. So we have to embrace that pressure, and have that be part of what inspires us. And, to your point earlier, but in terms of the balance between being entertaining and having an entertaining style of play and winning games, that is something to really look at. And anytime you're looking to implement something, and you are trying to ensure that it gives you the best opportunity to win. That's really what it's about. I think that's what the organization wants, and that's what the fans ultimately want to see. That said, the NHL is an entertainment business, and I think it is important to embrace that portion of it, in particular with your special players that you have that have special abilities, and to allow them to showcase that inside of your team concepts and the habits and details that you need them to be able to do to give you the chances to win. But the fans really do want to see the best players do what makes them special, and even myself as a coach, you want your special players to do special things. So that is a balance for sure, but it is about teaching the players and understanding as a team of how those things can contribute to us winning, and then how some other things that maybe perhaps might be entertaining to attempt or try, but don't help our cause, then that's nothing we're interested in.
You're coaching a team that has a young core, but also some more experienced veteran players as well. So you have a wide array of, mentalities, experience levels, maturity. And when it comes to that, how do you approach your level of effectively communicating with those players? Because the reality is not every athlete is going to act or respond the same way. So what's a piece of advice that you could give to coaches out there that they could use in their day-to-day practices of how to communicate with their players?
Yeah, I think it again, to connect to the inspiration and connecting with the individual and learning what they're about, learning why they play, and what's important to them, and tapping into that and utilizing that to sort of guide you and how you approach a player. But then you have to recognize that you're coaching a team, but you're coaching and leading individuals that make up that team, and each one has to have its own plan and its own purpose with how you approach it. Not everybody's going to respond the same way to to a certain message. So I try to learn what works. Some players really want it very direct and very blunt, and just give it to me, good or bad. Some players, you're going to have to build them up with some positives first, and then you're going to kind of get to the point within that and make them understand it. Some of it want to see it on video and really break it down, and others don't have any interest in that. Some want to talk to you face to face. Some are perfectly good if you shoot them a text message in the evening and just give them something to think about as they're preparing for bed and getting ready for a new day. So it's really just recognizing what's the best way. And in some cases, it's not me. Maybe they're going to respond a little bit better to one of our assistant coaches. Maybe it's going to be our general manager, Kyle Dubas, and just whatever it is. Maybe it's a teammate. Maybe I got to go to another teammate and say, hey, I think you should talk to so-and-so about this situation, because I think he's going to respond a little bit better to a teammate in this case. So I think it's very personal with how you communicate. You can't just have one communication style. I think if it's with me, I think it's being flexible is a really, really important quality, and then putting in the time to communicate, and not leaving things to be assumed, and not having too much time go by without checking in with somebody or letting them know where they stand or how you're feeling about their performance.
Is that one of the biggest things for you during this extended off season, being able to keep those lines of communication open, especially with your leadership group?
Yeah, for sure. That whether it's during this period or even before we came back in our return to play before going into the bubble, communication was a big part of it, especially at a time like this where there's so much uncertainty. regarding when we're going to come back, what the conditions are going to be like when we do come back. Communication is really important, and we've been able to do that through various means. We've had before going to the bubble, we had a number of full team Zoom calls where everybody was on it, and we're educating everybody and answering questions. We have a constant ongoing communication through a chat group with our leadership group, and I know the players themselves have their own that they're communicating with each other, and then our leadership group is sort of relaying things to myself and Kyle. And then, of course, there's the direct communication with the players. And again, not just myself, but our assistant coaches, our training staff, our performance staff. They're constantly communicating with our players on how they're feeling, what they're going through, checking in with their training. In my case, just making sure that they're clear on what the expectations are coming into training camp and into a new season. And then most importantly, at this time especially, just checking in with how they're doing, how their family is doing, how they're managing the situations. And in many cases, these players are all over the world. And I'm not overly familiar with, with how things are in Sweden or how things are in Russia or Denmark, whatever it might be. In each of our players' cases, you're trying to educate yourself and try to understand what they might be going through.
In terms of educating yourself throughout this extended off season, perhaps you've had some time to listen to some podcasts, read a book, maybe watch sports documentaries. I know The Last Dance was a really popular one on Netflix, just to see the rise of a champion and what it takes to be great and part of a dynasty. So if you had to choose maybe a sports motto or something that you like to live your life by, is there anything that you could really gravitate to?
You know what? There's lots. I mean, especially nowadays, the one thing I would say to coaches is there's really no excuse to not make yourself better and to not learn, because there's so much out there that is available now through the internet, but be it social media or just simple Google searches, YouTube, what have you. There's so many resources that are out there. Not even to mention, of course, books and Netflix and all the different things that have added to that. But the thing that really stands out to me, and perhaps part of it is just because of its simplicity and the success around it, but Pete Carroll at the Seattle Seahawks has a philosophy that's really simple with two words, and that's to always compete. And I think that that's something that really registers with me, just in the sense of the way that they define it, or the way that Pete Carroll defines it, is always competing is essentially not about competing against other people, but really competing with yourself and really challenging and pushing yourself to always be learning, always be evolving, always be seeking to improve and get better. And that's a philosophy that they have. And of course, there's a lot of different things, different layers you can add onto that, to how always competing pushes your teammates and then challenges your opponents and gives you an edge and all that kind of stuff. But that really registers with me, and even more so now, given I had the great opportunity to spend some time in 2019, August 2019. I was fortunate enough to be able to go and be on the inside of the Seahawks training camp and speak with Pete and see him in action, with how that model of always competing, what that looks like in a team setting and in the meetings and on the practice field and with the coaching staff and everything like that. And it was a terrific opportunity for me. And its simplicity is beautiful, but there's a lot inside of that.
That is so cool. How did that come about?
We just were able to make a connection with the Seahawks, something that I've always wanted to do, to be able to spend time with an NFL team in particular, just because I think that the dynamics around an NFL team are so fascinating. First of all, just because of the volume of people. The Seattle Seahawks, as an example, they have 28 coaches. So, wow. You know, their staff meetings are massive, and the job of a coach is not just about coaching the players; it's more so coaching the coaches and organizing them. And then in their training camp, they had 92 players in training camp. So managing all of that, and then they have, you know, and even in the season, they have, you know, over 50 men to manage on their roster. So there's so many things that go into that, and I've been fascinated for a long time about how they coordinate that, how do they organize it, how do they plan. then how do they execute, and to be able to make the connection, and then be fortunate to get the invite to come down and hang out with them, and then spend better part of 45 minutes or so on two consecutive days with Pete Carroll in his office in the midst of his training camp. I was very, very fortunate for that, and learned a lot through it.
Wow, that's unbelievable. And I'm sure, like you said, lessons that you can take with you for a lifetime. And you kind of alluded to it, the dynamic of a coaching staff, how important that is, but also when it comes to the Leafs management as well. And Kyle Dubas was on the session yesterday and he spoke about your relationship. You guys go way back. So can you lift the curtain a little bit and tell us, what is it like to work with Kyle?
Well, it's terrific, first of all, because he's a terrific person. He cares about his people and his staff, his players, no matter who it is. That's the first thing. Is he's just a great guy who has great values, and he cares for his people. So his people then, in turn, care that much more about their role and their job, and want to do well for him and for the organization. So that's the first thing. Obviously, in my case, he took a chance on me coming out of Pembroke to coach in Sault Ste. Marie, and he made a coaching change mid-season at that point in time in the OHL, and brought me in there. And I think we were able to make really great strides with that organization, and have it be one that was trying to find its way to ultimately being regarded as one of the premier organizations in the Canadian Hockey League, with the number of players drafted and the national rankings year over year. And then, of course, he left for Toronto, and fortunate enough that he believed in me enough to come over and run and work with the Marlies, and Brendan Shanahan, and spending time with him supported me in that as well. And again, we were able to really change a lot of things with how the Marlies were run, and ultimately, of course, winning the Calder Cup, and then coming through to he gets up to the promotion with the NHL, and then how it works out to come up and help him with this challenge and this opportunity is obviously a great privilege and very exciting. But I think one of the most important things for people to know, and I think this is just really, really important, as I said, that Kyle, cares about his people, and it's great to work with that way. His communication skills are outstanding and second to none. You're always informed with what's happening. You always know where he stands. But the biggest thing is that we've grown very close, and we worked very well together over the years. But we disagree almost on a daily basis, and at times it gets very heated, and we see things differently. But we know we're aligned in our vision of where we know we want to go at times, and how we're going to get there. We're going to have some debate about, and it can get heated. But because we're so aligned, we're able to just move on and get focused and make the right decisions for that time. And he has a very big job to do. Being the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs is a very big job, and it goes beyond what I'm doing on the day to day, because of the scouting aspects of it, and player development, and managing the team, and the relationships with Brendan as our president, and our ownership group, the board, all those kind of things. It's a very big job, but he's always has time for everybody. But it's not always rosy between he and I, and that's what I love most about it.
I love that, though, because it's important to surround yourself with like-minded individuals, but the only way that you're going to grow is if you're challenged by the people closest to you. So if you have the ability to have open and honest conversations, I think that that is a true way to create meaningful dialogue. And you had mentioned the fact, being the head coach of the Toronto Marlies, you won a Calder Cup there, but I always noticed the vibe when you were at the Ford Performance Center, the fact that Marlies practices, they were intense, but they also had a sense of energy to them. You would have skills development sessions throughout the week. There would be music playing, but the players were all focused and dialed in. So when it comes to developing players in the American Hockey League wanting to make that jump to the NHL, what's your process and approach to this?
Well, I guess the big thing, again, when I talked about the communication skills and ways in which you communicate with your players, a big thing for me is that it's personal, and you have to know that, and how you're going to relate to that person or that player. I think in player development, it's the same thing. It's that development is personal. You can't just have a blanket plan and expect that it's going to address the needs of all 20 some odd players. There has to be a plan for each individual, and that's first and foremost. And then I think to your point about being focused and being engaged every day, and in some cases where we involve music and stuff like that, it's about finding the right recipe and the right delivery to keep it fresh. And to your point from earlier about talking about motivating the players, and I talk about inspiring and connecting to their passion. A lot of our job as coaches and as facilitators of development is to keep that light on, keep the fire burning, and in some cases you got to be able to find ways to change it up and produce more energy. At times you think the team is really tired, the season is really wearing on them, so that's when we'll bring some music out. We'll try to bring in some more competitive drills and things like that. They're going to really kind of get them moving and get them competing. That's really important in their development as well. But the biggest thing is really knowing the player, breaking it down. What are their needs? How do we communicate to them about what it is we're looking to accomplish and where we think they need to grow? How do they feel about their game, and what do they feel like they need to get better at, and how can we connect and work together to make that plan? In some cases they have great suggestions. In some cases we feel like they're off base, and we need to really focus them in on where it is we need to make them better, and spend the time through video or whatever it is to be able to make those adjustments. And then also recognizing that it may not just be on the ice. Like I'm the coach of the hockey team, but I might not have the answers for what they need. They might need stuff in the gym. They might need to work on their strength, and we have to send them with the strength coaches to be able to work on that area of their game and trust their expertise to do that. Maybe they need work on the mental side of the game and their mental fitness and mental toughness and all those things. So really is a personal thing. And we've, through my time with the Marlies, really took that approach on. We're fortunate to have just terrific people with our player development staff and the resources we had available to execute these things. But it was my job as a coach to play my role as the leader of that department and of that team, but really to facilitate the development through the different resources that we had to make people better.
So if we take that approach and we bring it down to a minor hockey league level, and even there's coaches that coach at the university level on this call as well, what do you think that they should be focusing on when it comes to implementing skills both mentally and physically for their players? Is there an overarching theme, or is it constantly evolving?
Well, I think it's really dependent on, if we're talking about youth hockey, about where the kids are at and their age and their abilities. I think once they have the general foundation of being able to skate and handle a puck and pass or shoot a puck, I think you can really start to work towards game situation type pieces, and having them find their way through that and find their own solutions and feel their way through it. At the same time, I think that makes it a lot more fun. I think the amount of time that you can limit them standing in line and keep them moving and have them mimicking what the game looks like. I mean, hockey's the fastest game on earth, and a lot of decisions are having to be made out on the ice in a very short period of time, and the players need to feel that, I think. So the more you can have them moving, the better. And I do believe it's also a lot more fun. My kids are going through that right now, and the more that they're moving and involved in drills that look and feel like hockey, the better. Of course, if they're not at that level, you need to break it down and really work on their fundamentals. But a lot of those fundamentals can be developed through gameplay, and I think that that's important. And when I say gameplay, I don't necessarily mean competing against another team from another community or anything like that. I think you can find ways to do it inside your own practices and things, and that's important. And I think those are some principles that go through all levels, not just in youth hockey, junior hockey, collegiate hockey, professional hockey at the American League level, and at the NHL level. We're looking to really, break the game down into little pieces and isolate different areas, but have it look and feel like hockey as much as possible in terms of gaining a puck, having to figure out how to position your body to protect the puck, how to find a solution, how to gather information, to figure out what the appropriate play is at that time, and to be able to execute it. So all those kind of things are inside of each of the drills we're trying to do, in particular when we're in the player development phase of things.
Switching gears a little bit, I'm curious to know your thoughts on body language. How aware are you of your body language when you're out there on the bench or in the dressing room? Because that could essentially set the tone for what your players are feeling. So are you in tune with all of that?
Yeah, sometimes I fall out of tune with it. Emotions at times can get the best of you. I think I've grown in that area a great deal. If I look back to my time in Pembroke, when I first started, to where I'm at now, I think I'm a lot more reserved and composed, and I am conscious of how my body language and my actions can reflect onto the players, and how they might approach the next shift or the next phase of the game. So definitely aware of that, and I'm certainly aware of it when it comes to our players and the messages that they're sending to their teammates, or to the opponents, or to our fans, or to the referees, whatever the case may be. And I think that's really, really vital, and that's again in all ages. I think it's really important to learn that. Even with my own sons, I've got two boys that are playing at they're 8 and 10 years old, and one of my boys in particular has a habit of really making it obvious of how he's feeling about a particular situation. And I think being able to just kind of wash it out and not show your emotions as much, to just stay focused and composed on the next play, and then also recognizing that nothing that happens in hockey or anything like that is the end of the world, and we just have to push past it, remain focused on what the end goal is, and get back to work.
And that could even be applied to the fact that being a youth hockey coach is an important responsibility. Not only are you going out there and expected to produce wins, but at the same time, you're shaping the minds of players both on and off the ice. So is that critical, and just how top of mind should that be for coaches in recognizing just their role that they play in these players' lives?
I really think that should be at the forefront, and I really do think that majority of coaches, particularly in youth hockey, people that are volunteering their time and coaching young kids, they're doing it for the right reasons, and they want to be a part of that, a part of the development of the youth. So I think that has to remain at the forefront, and I also think it has to be connected to life more so than hockey. You're really teaching players to operate within a team, and to understand their role, and to be selfless, and to be leaders, and to be sportsmen, and to be sportsmanlike, and to play within the rules, to be disciplined, to take care of yourself, to be rested, and to come to the arena and be ready to work, and at times being tired from school or whatever it might be, but you still find a way to get through the hour, to push and to do it, and to have fun, and then to compete, to connect it back to Pete Carroll's always compete. That's just a big part of life, and that's one of the greatest lessons I think they will take away from sport is the competition, and whatever you get into in life, to always compete, to always look to challenge yourself to get better and to maximize your potential. That's really what the youth sport should be about, because the percentages of players who actually make a career of it is tiny, but the impact that the game makes on young people is massive.
I think we have learned so many great lessons throughout this conversation. So I want to end it on one final question. Sheldon, how much are you looking forward to an upcoming season, and what are your emotions surrounding it?
Yeah, I'm really excited for lots of reasons, of course. we feel like our team, of course, we know has greater levels to get to here. We're not happy with how things finished off in our series against Columbus, but we've made some changes and we have new people coming in that I'm really excited to work with. But then just for myself personally, it's a fresh start with a fresh training camp, a fresh team, if you will, because there are significant changes, and a chance to really get to work with what I would like our team to be about and what I think we need to be about if we're going to take the steps necessary. We have a new coaching staff, in essence, the additions of Paul McLean and Manny Malholtra as on our coaching staff, as well as Sam Kim on the video side of things. So we've got a lot of fresh faces going to be in our facility and working with our team. It's been exciting to make the plan. And we're ready. We are ready, and we'll be excited to get going whenever they tell us that we can do so. But having the fresh start and the fresh opportunity to really get to work with this club has got me very excited.
Absolutely. I can echo that, and I'm sure the fans at home feel it too. Optimism is on the horizon. So Sheldon, thank you so much for being so gracious with your time, sharing insight from the beginning of your career to what led you to the NHL. I'm sure everybody has been taking notes anxiously throughout all of this. So we really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks. We'll see you soon. What a way to end off this year's Tim Hortons Coaches Open House. Thank you, Sheldon, for joining us today. That was an amazing and insightful conversation about your coaching experience and the ins and outs of a team. I hope you were all paying attention because it's time for our final Kahoot trivia game for today. Our final prize comes from our friends at Tim Hortons, who want to make sure you have a coffee a day for a whole year. The winner will receive $750 in Tim cards to cover their daily Tim Hortons coffee purchase. Good luck! Let's revisit our Kahoot trivia. Here's a reminder of how it works. You'll need 2 devices in order to play along. Please keep us on your main screen and use your second device to play. Just visit kahoot.it. We'll give you a couple minutes to log in. The PIN number for today's game will appear on your screen. Type it into your second device now. Be sure to use your first initial and last name so we are able to identify you as the winner and mail you your prize. Are you ready? Here we go. Thank you so much for joining us this weekend for the 2020 Toronto Maple Leafs Tim Hortons Coaches Open House. If you thought that was it, there is one more thing for today. Since you've all been such an amazing audience the last 2 days, we'll be selecting a random winner to receive a signed Leafs jersey, so be on the lookout for that. This has been an amazing workshop covering all sorts of topics, including diversity in hockey, advice and resources for coaches, and how to continue to work with and challenge your athletes despite being in a pandemic. We hope that each and every one of you learned something new and got some new ideas for how you can up your coaching game. Take a look at your coaching manual for more resources and information. The winners of Kahoot Trivia and our random winner will be contacted by email. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to leafscamps@mlsc.com. Be sure to check out the Leafs Development website for all information on upcoming events and programming too. One final shout out to our partner at Tim Hortons for helping to make this event possible. That's a wrap for this year's Coaches Open House. We hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend and stay safe.